Have you ever wondered how body language impacts video effectiveness? Well, today we're talking about enhancing on-camera presence with body language tips. Yes, hi, I'm Nancy Walsh.
And I'm Robert Arnot, the video wizard. So, welcome.
So, the importance of good body language is just makes a big difference. Print message versus video. There was a study by Dr. Albert Membrem, I guess it is his name, and he said that words have about 77% of the communication, and the tone of voice like 38%, and 55 is our body language. So in the print language, you're only getting like 7% of what you can convey on video with the tone of voice.
It's
and
just
your body
another
language.
Example of how important video is in getting your message and your energy across.
It can, those numbers can vary a bit, but it really is an impactful part of how you're conveying your message, is both what you're saying, but also how you're saying it and what you're doing while you're saying it. So
right. And as far as presenting yourself as being confident, your body language has so much to do with it, and it's so much as subconscious, but think of like a wimpy, depressed person compared to an alive person you really want to connect with. That's body language. And so I think we could safely say that body language helps build trust and credibility with your viewers, because again, we're going to get into some tips about body language, but just to really paint the picture of how important it is, even if you're just sitting on a Zoom call, your presence, it creates so much of a trust and credibility, and it strengthens your message, makes you relatable, and it can really, if you have a call to action where maybe there's something that people need to buy, it really can influence the viewer action. And I think that's so important.
Wanting to connect with you, and wanting to work with you.
Right.
It just, and you don't have to worry so much about, oh gosh, how am I doing? How am I doing? It's more of just picking up and feeling excited about your message and sharing and bringing the energy up a bit.
Yeah. And so the whole message of today is to really think about the importance of it. So
and one of the tips about body language is whether you're standing or sitting, stand tall or sit tall. It projects confidence, like we were saying before.
Right.
Depressed, shy is kind of this lower thing, or feeling good and confident, you're standing tall.
Right. And when we were talking about this ahead of our presentation today, I thought about something I saw with Tony Robbins, and I made a picture of it. This is him showing in one of his presentations, but here's what you're seeing on the screen is about. With your shoulders back and breathing in a good state for 2 minutes. This was the part that's not shown here. It was a Harvard Business School study, and after 2 minutes of being in this Superman pose, you might call it, testosterone, which is your energy and projection, went up 20%, measurable biomarker. Stress hormones of cortisol went down 25%, and I think most importantly is the risk tolerance increased 33%. Risk tolerance being like how willing are you to put yourself out there and not doing stupid things, right? But ultimately that, and so he's got his action figures there, and this is just something that I had from a previous thing.
This can be done prior to turning on the video.
Right. As a matter of fact, we like to, before we go live, with all the other things we have to get dialed in, to actually take a breath, stand tall. And so let's go back to us. And anyways, that's a big thing.
So Standing tall, projects confidence that we talked about. And standing tall allows you to breathe better, because you have more room in your lungs to breathe, and you just feel more confident. And it just, one of the things, especially if you're sitting, avoid crossing your arms and closing off, because that ends up creating kind of a, don't come near,
Right.
So
it's the opposite of open body
open
language,
body
where,
language.
hey, I'm open to connecting.
Yeah.
And it also just, energetically, it's not good for your being.
Yeah. So anyway, some of the things about working with the camera.
Yeah. So, we've talked about this in other places, but as far as body language and how you're perceived when you're doing your presentation on video, is it the camera at eye level? What you don't want, and it really can happen at your desk sitting down and having the webcam at the wrong spot. You're either getting
way looking
down
too.
or up your nostrils, and it really is eye contact. Like right now, our camera, we're standing, but that, if I was to salute the camera, it's at eye level, and it makes it so much easier to create a connection.
Which is, much more like what a person to person,
Right.
if you're talking to a person.
Yeah, somebody that's about your same height. If it's Tony Robbins that's, almost 7 feet tall, you might be looking up a little bit. But really, it's just to think about having the camera at eye level, because that is, the eyes are the windows to the soul, right? And so we want to be able to get dialed in with that. And another thing, although it's more in the studio setup, the proper lighting, how you eliminate not eliminate your face, but illuminate your face is so important, because again, if there's really strong lighting from above, you'll get shadows. I've noticed a lot of in studio, like professional studios where they're doing presentations, there's actually lighting also along the table just to help light up underneath the their eyes and so forth. Yeah,
shadows.
Yeah.
And behind you and so forth. Yeah.
And there's the one other thing that we wanted to mention in just this general part about using this setup is how far away is the camera? And of course it depends, a webcam has a very wide angle, and so it can't be too far away without getting too much of the background. But if you're using either a pro camera or sitting at your desk with a webcam, it is possible to get your face so that you're almost the entire screen. And
if it's just one person.
In most cases, that's really not right. But also having it be so that you're not big enough in the screen. I like to think, like if I'm doing an interview with somebody or a presentation, that my head is about half the height of the screen. But the all important rule is my eye contact, or my eye level, is like 1/3 of the way down from the top. That's the rule of thirds, and it's really
That's cool.
Yeah, it's important to keep your eyes so you don't look like you're coming from down under like here and you're looking up, and it's just that, again, think of the body language difference there. So Yep.
And I think the biggest thing is just not being so far away that you can't relate to the person that's on the screen.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that I do a lot of is hand gesturing. I don't even think I could really practically talk without moving my hands.
Grab her hand, she can't talk.
Yeah. And hand gestures are really great for emphasizing key points and so forth. And it is okay to keep the hands visible, or at least not down so tight that you're looking stiff. But it does help not to do the hands so much that it's distracting. And I sometimes hold my hands down a little bit just to keep it from being outrageously distracting with my hands. So it's good to emphasize with your hands, but not do so much that you're distracting.
Right. There's hand gestures of many different ways to express yourself, but the one thing that we don't like is that if I point right, I'm pointing at you like, hey, that's really bad energy in my
You
opinion.
can do
So
like the,
most people don't know that.
this is a better movement
Yeah,
than
right.
pointing.
But
Yeah.
so
Some little tips there,
it's about being animated and alive,
Yeah.
but not being like just over the top with it all.
So yeah, and one of the things, a huge piece of our body language is our whether we're smiling or not.
Right.
The facial expressions. That is the facial expressions we learn as babies, and it is universal. I mean, the same facial expressions of smiling versus sadness can be seen in all cultures practically. They're all pretty much the same understanding of what a facial expression means. So
Right.
in a video, it really is good to be, creating a genuine smile. And it's sometimes when you're, even with us doing lives, it's sometimes hard to remember to kind of smile, while you're talking.
Yeah. Fortunately, at least when I am smiling, it looks natural and approachable. A fake smile, and there's jokes made about people with their fake smiles. I think that's more of a turnoff than having sort of a natural face. But the thing is, with the connection and the friendliness, eye contact, a smile, that approachable feeling. And so maintaining eye contact connects with the viewers. And so that's just body language 101. Make eye contact, smile, feel approachable and friendly, and connect.
And unfortunately, with cameras, maintaining eye contact means looking at the lens, which we have addressed in past ones, how to deal with looking at this, because we're so used to looking at faces, not camera lenses. But if you think about that, that is how they see you looking at them.
Right.
It is so important to look at the lens because that does maintain eye contact. It doesn't have to be like constantly staring at a lens, that in a one-to-one person, you don't do that all the time either.
If you're talking to somebody in person, you'd be at times like I reach for thoughts or whatever with my eyes, and yet I always come back to that eye contact. And I think probably the biggest thing to learn to be good with using video to connect with people is being able to look at this inanimate object and just know that it's a portal to be able to connect with people out there.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to remember is when you're really wanting to look at a person, make sure that you're not looking down while you're giving the whole message like this. It really, that body language is so turn off for the viewer. So at least spend your message and bringing your message into the camera. So that is a huge piece of body language.
And then there's that piece about turning it up a little bit too. When you're wanting to be expressive, you're going to be sort of a little more voltage than you normally would run to get that energy so that it comes across and it just makes things more perky. And there's also thinking of a tone of the message. That doesn't mean that if you've got sort of a sad message that you wouldn't want to be like all crying and whatever, but matching the tone of the message is sort of part of the art of the delivery.
Right.
And so that's...
I mean, if it's a serious message, then you probably aren't bouncing all around, hey,
that's
but,
right.
like that. But, but if it's just kind of bringing, tips and this and like what we're doing, sharing helpful information, the tone of the message is, we want to be interesting and have some energy, so it's not boring to watch. And I think one of the things we haven't mentioned is tone, as far as monotone. Having a monotone voice is can, unless you're doing like what I do with hypnotherapy, putting someone in
for the induction
hypnosis, that is about the only time I would recommend doing a monotone voice. Otherwise, you using a monotone voice is going to put them to sleep, and or turn them
deeper
and deeper, or they'll just turn off the video, because nothing is more boring than, what was it, Bueller's teacher? Yeah, and Bueller, what was that movie anyway?
Ferris Bueller?
Ferris Bueller's teacher, and it was he had that monotone teacher's voice, and it was like droning on and on. Yes, that's not what you want to be doing.
So anyways, the whole tone. Thing about just dialing in the facial expressions, the smile, the energy, it is, like Nancy presented at the start, the significant amount of how information is conveyed. And so the good news is you can practice and be able to do more and more of that. And it is huge for doing successful communication with the people you want to connect with. And so, speaking of practice, you want to talk about that some?
So, some of the things that can help you to feel more confident and pay attention to how you're coming across with your body language is to either practice in front of the mirror, giving yourself, and also just record yourself for just practice sessions.
Right.
Take a look and see how, we take a look at and watch our past lives to see, how we can improve or and so forth. But it is a little bit hard to watch yourself, I agree, or see yourself in the mirror. But it really can help in refining your presence and how you're showing up. Yeah, and even get feedback from your peers. Have them watch you, some of your practice videos, and you just adjust and practice off, and check your other videos. But if you haven't started yet, just turn on the video and know that perfect isn't. It doesn't have to be perfect. Please never expect it to be perfect. But to just be authentic, be yourself in an authentic way, but, maybe amped up a bit, So.
One point I want to make about this part about either practicing in front of the mirror, way more even, is recording and then watching it, is the getting okay with seeing yourself. I mean, that's really, we talk about the eye contact and the energy, but to be able to really let yourself out there, it requires you being, think about if you don't like what you've got, but you press upload anyways, you're not going to have the right energy going out into the world. You need to be feeling good about yourself, because then when you feel good about yourself, the next time you do a recording, it's even better, and people are going to feel good about themselves while they're watching you feel good about yourself. And it requires that personal development loop to go through that I really am a big advocate of.
And that's where I like to help people getting more comfortable with seeing yourself, feeling good about how you are on the video, or at least being okay with it,
Right.
It takes a while to really be, and some even big actresses and actors don't like seeing themselves. So it's not like you have to feel good about it, but enough to kind of like, oh, well, I want to get that message out, and that's important. And I think that if it feels like you're caring about your message and you enjoying what you're sharing about it, and just coming from your heart, I think that once if you see yourself, you go, oh yeah, I was being real and authentic, and I care, and that's what is going to come across. So.
Yeah, and you may have heard me say this before too, but the whole deal with making videos translates into you being better in all aspects of your life, because it gets that sense of pride and okayness at a higher level.
Yeah. So remember, there's a variety of things just to keep in mind, to recap, stand tall, feel good about bringing your energy in, and just practicing. So
yeah, that thing that we showed at the start with Tony Robbins, and the 2 minutes of just being in the Superwoman pose, and the demonstrated effect on the biomarkers is, to me, really
good.
important, and it helps. You can't help but do a better job when you're in that state. Yeah.
And he knows about that for sure.
Yeah, Tony would know.
So yeah. And if you got some good benefit from this video, be sure to like it. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our channel. It really helps the channel grow. And hit the notification bell so you get notified when the next video comes in. And leave us a comment. We'd really appreciate that. All right. Thank you.